Good morning, everybody. I am talking to you straight from bed this morning because I had a really rough day yesterday, and I learned a lot from it, and I want to share what I learned from it. My interview was yesterday, and it was just a stressful situation. It was supposed to be 2 hours, but it ended up being 3 hours, and the caregiving that I planned for, good morning, the caregiving that I planned for couldn't reach that long. So as I'm waiting for my turn, because they did like a group interview, a group introduction where they told you the ins and outs of the job, and then please don't touch my mouth, and then they did one-on-one interviews afterwards because they're hiring like a whole squad all at once. So, they were really kind. It was a really great company, but I had planned for X amount of childcare, and then I gave myself a half hour of like breathing room in case I was not, in case it went long or something. But it went an hour longer, which caused a lot of anxiety. So here I am waiting for my interview, and instead of being like in a calm, collected space, I'm starting to really panic. And I go and I try to talk to someone so I can go get my phone. I chose not to bring it in so I wouldn't be tempted by it. And the person wasn't available right away, and she said she'd come and answer my question in a few minutes. And so then, 15 minutes goes by, and I'm thinking, like, what am I going to do? And so I go back out, and I'm like, hi, I know that you asked me to wait, but my question's really time sensitive. And she was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I'm totally sorry. And I was like, all right. I was under the impression the interview would be 2 hours, and it's almost at that mark, and I haven't had my interview yet, and I need to know if I need to make different arrangements for childcare because my childcare is going to run out. And she basically said I had about 15 minutes until my interview and that I could go make arrangements. And so I ran out to my car and I got everything sorted. My dad was going to be able to go to where my caregiver was and hang with Valor until I got home. So that gave me relief, but it still built up all this anxiety that was inside of me. And I went in and I had my interview, and it was just kind of flat. And going to the interview in the first place was pretty scary because that job, while giving me flight benefits, it's also going to kind of turn my world upside down, and I can't really see how it's going to work out. But I haven't seen how any of this process is going to work out. I've just been operating in trust, and I've been afraid the whole time. Believe me, I've been afraid the whole time. I just, I'm done being afraid in that place. I'm going to be afraid in this place, And so, the interview was fine, but when they sent me home, I kind of was sent home with this vibe that it wasn't my job. And I felt a little bit of relief, and a little bit of butthurtness because, we want to win. We want to slay. But at the same time, I know I'm going to be good whether I get this job or a different job or, something completely entirely. I'm good. Like, that's the fact. I'm good. But I still accumulated all this anxiety because of what happened when I was there, the fear that I faced going to that position, and then the fear that I face that it's a fearful situation for me either way. If I get the job, I'm afraid of how I'm going to make it all work. If I don't get the job, I'm afraid of, where's my income going to come from? Like, how's it all going to work out? And so it really put me into a panic attack. And I'm telling I'm telling you that. Hi. Not right now, baby. Look, we're watching the show. Look, there's Mama. No. Oh, it's okay, baby. Go watch your show. And so it really put me into a tailspin, and I came back and I was with Valor, and it was really hot and the bees were out, so we couldn't be outside. The trailer was too hot. I haven't been able to secure my AC just because of different things, like not having enough time after my interview to make the run to get it before my childcare ran out. And by the way, I did get out in like moments before it was too late. So I didn't need backup caregiving at all. I just had all that stress and things would have worked out just fine, but I needed to create a fail-safe so that I could have peace, and I didn't need the fail-safe, so that's good, but it was still stressful. So I came home and I was with Valor alone, and it was hot inside. The bees were out outside. Valor was pushing boundaries, and I kept having to put consequences down, and so taking her away from everything that she wanted to do, because she goes and holds the chickens, but then she's too rough, and so I have to take her out. Then we're going for a walk, but she's not listening or wanting to hold my hand, and she's going into dangerous places, so we're going to have to stop. So everything I'm trying to do to, keep us in a good space isn't working, and I'm just frustrated. I'm angry. I'm anxious. I'm afraid. All these things are really, really exploding within me. And the fact of the matter is, I totally had an anxiety attack and downward spiraled, and I wasn't as good of a mom. I wasn't as good of a mom as I could be if I was in a better space. And I couldn't actually settle down because she napped while I was gone, and that's usually my recovery time. And I couldn't actually settle down until she finally went to sleep, and I put her to sleep early, because that was the kindest thing I could do for myself, was put her to sleep early. At which point I was able to really intentionally reach out for support and care, and because I really was too bottomed out to practice self-care for myself. And, as I finally made the connections that helped me get through it and process, and I cried the tears that helped me let go of the emotion, I started realizing that this is a real epidemic for single moms and for even just stay-at-home moms, because we have meltdowns and we can't get away, and we're with our kids. And when we melt down, they melt down. When they melt down, we melt down. It's like, this is a constant battle for me, how to right my ship when I don't have the luxury of alone time. And so it really inspired me to look into ways that I can, because I know how to balance myself out when I'm alone. It's easy. Take a bath, do a meditation. But we don't all have quiet time. We're often with our kids, and if we can't handle our own emotions, we can't handle their emotions. And, momming is so incredibly painful and hard. Hi, it's almost time. We're going to go outside soon. When we are in that panic state. And so my mission now is to figure out how to come down from anxiety, come down from panic attacks on my own with my child. So, because once I learn how to do that, I'm going to share it, because I feel like it could save us from so much suffering. And I've got some practical attempts I'm going to use, and unfortunately I'm my guinea pig right now. All these anxiety attacks, all these stressful moments that, trigger me and get to a point where I'm holding it in for too long, and then the dam breaks, it happens. It's unavoidable. It's a fact of life. And so my goal is to learn how to move through those moments with compassionate self-kindness, including self-care, and how to incorporate my daughter into that, so that we can work on calming down together and righting our ship together. So I'm going to learn those skills, and I'm going to master my peace even when I can't get away from this sweet, sweet, beautiful thing. And then I'm going to share it with you and ask for your guidance, your help. Like, what works for you? How do you get square when you're in that state? Like, tell me what you do. I'm gonna work on figuring out what works for me. I have a feeling I just covered up the recording. Tell me what works for you. I'm going to figure out what works for me, and I really want to come up with an easy, accessible way of coming down from stress, coming down from anxiety attacks when you can't get away from your kids. Because that's when we need it the most, because two people are suffering when the caregiver can't get straight. So anyways, that's my mission right now. Tell me what works for you, and we'll talk again soon.